If you were asked to film an elite athlete climb the highest peaks of all 50 states in world record time, what lens would you choose? Now, you might be like, Ryan, that is a very oddly specific question. Who would ever be asked that? Yeah, well, me. First, a big thanks to Sony for sponsoring this video and making a lot of what I do as a creative possible. Choosing a lens to buy for your filmmaking or photography can be an extremely tedious and overwhelming decision to make. Narrowing down what kind of stuff you anticipate shooting. Like, do you need a prime lens or a zoom lens, f2.8 or full frame? But what if I told you that there's a Sony lens that's full frame that absolutely checks all of the boxes for most creators? So when Sony reached out to me and asked, Ryan, if you had to choose one lens, well, the 24-105 is pretty much a no-brainer. So for those of you who haven't been around the channel for very long, back in 2018, I was asked to help shoot a documentary piece with my close friend Colin O'Brady on his world record project. As ridiculous as it sounds, the goal was to literally climb the highest peaks in all 50 states in less than 41 days in order to beat the previous world record. If I were to use one word to describe what this environment was like, I would probably use treacherous.
Just to review, we woke up in Honolulu this morning, flew to Kona, climbed Mauna Kea, swam in the ocean, flew to LAX, transferred terminals, somehow made a flight. Now we're in Albuquerque. 2 peaks to climb that are both legit. We have like 15 hours, 2 mountains to climb, and 10 or 11 hours of driving. Ready?
We gotta go.
I had to follow and document Colin, who is a world-class endurance athlete, as he trekked intense trails all across the United States. As we traveled at a literal world record pace, like, we're talking at some points 6 states a day fast. We experienced a wide range of weather conditions, travel conditions, shooting. I mean, it was pretty intense to say the least. When you're working and shooting in these high pressure environments, you know, extreme conditions, it's imperative to bring gear that will work with you and not against you. Like, I'm sure there's a certain amount of people who would be like, you know, why not a 24-70 and a 70-200, or why not a couple of primes and like the Tamron 28-75? I get it. This was one of those projects where there was truly zero room or tolerance for extra gear or extra weight. It was bring exactly what you need and nothing more. We were moving so fast, the time windows and itinerary was so strict. Like, we're talking sprinting through airports, multiple days without sleep, private jets, thousands of miles cross country in an RV. There was no do-overs. There was no chance to go back if I missed a shot. So picking a setup that was simple and would give me everything I needed in order to capture this project was absolutely critical. Even now, 4 years later, after I've gotten the chance to use tons of incredible equipment, you know, amazing cameras, amazing lenses, pretty much everything you can imagine, I still feel completely sound with my choice in utilizing this lens, and I'm still really proud of everything I was able to capture with it. So I wanna break down to you guys why I think this is one of the most underrated Sony lenses for filmmaking. First, yes, it's technically a kit lens, but I think people seriously over quantify what exactly that means. Like, yeah, it is a lens that Sony has decided is worth packaging with a lot of their full frame cameras. And I think for that reason alone, content creators sort of automatically jump to the conclusion that, oh, there's no way that this is a good enough lens for me. It's like what comes in the package, right? But don't be fooled here. Let's give this a chance. Think about it with an open mind for a moment. For run and gun work, speed and versatility is absolutely imperative. Having a lens that limits your shot variation, your composition, therefore forcing you to have to change lenses in order to switch up the look, that can slow you down and may risk you missing those critical moments that are essential to your story. I can't tell you how many times I've missed a shot fumbling around with lenses, or maybe even thinking, oh, should I switch lenses for this? And so I'm not paying attention, and boom, the moment is gone. The 24-105 is kind of amazing because it covers such an incredibly broad range of focal lengths and really allows for a huge amount of shot diversity from just a single lens. But this brings us to the age-old argument of speed. And I'm not talking about how quickly you can use the lens, I'm talking about the aperture. I think a lot of people tend to think that f4 just simply isn't fast enough. It's not good enough in low light. It's not gonna give you enough depth of field. f2.8 has been kind of widely recognized as more or less required for professional work. What's interesting and often misunderstood about this, especially when shooting video on a full frame camera, is that f2.8 can sometimes be too shallow for a lot of scenarios. In a lot of cases, it's more important to have your entire subject sharp and in focus than to be artistic with that super soft depth of field. f4 offers a reasonably soft but very controlled depth of field. You'd be really surprised in cinema and in proper filmmaking how rarely people are shooting lenses completely wide open. Now, the other argument here, low light performance. Most people think that f4 just simply isn't enough. The reality here is that most current generation Sony cameras, like not even full frame necessarily, just simply have low light performance that wouldn't even blink at a one-stop difference in aperture and light transmission. It's not gonna make a difference. In other words, as camera sensors and technology has improved, a lens like this has only gotten better. Another seriously overlooked feature that is lacking in many of the higher end lenses is image stabilization. The in-body image stabilization in most of the Sony cameras is pretty impressive. It works decently well. However, I think you'd be really surprised at the performance improvements and the steadiness that you gain when pairing the image stabilization inside of the camera with the OSS in some of the Sony lenses. Add in the fact that some of the newer Sony cameras have the active stabilization mode, which, yes, granted does crop on the image a bit, and you can start getting some results that after even a little bit of stabilization in post, kind of start to look like they might be from a gimbal. I can't explain to you how much of a lifesaver this feature alone was on that project. Like, I didn't have time to lug around a gimbal, so I had no other choice but to pretty much be handheld the entire time. Without this feature, I'm really not even sure that even 50% of that footage that I captured would have been usable. It would have been too shaky. I mean, not to mention the fact that I'm running on no sleep and endless energy drinks and coffee. Like, little Ryan hands were definitely not the most stable.
We're like, help us.
Look, I'm blessed and fortunate enough to be at a point in my career where I can basically work with any type of gear I want. And I've gone from point and shoot cameras, camcorders, to fully kitted out like huge cinema cameras. It's been a blast to be able to work with some of the best equipment in the industry. I've gotta say a huge thank you to Sony for sponsoring this video and allowing me to share this story with you guys and giving me a chance to spend some time with this lens again. This thing is a classic. It's probably one of my favorite lenses of all time, and honestly played a huge role in helping me realize what I wanted to do with my filmmaking career.